Welcome back to Cults, Crimes, and Spirits. I'm Nina,
And I'm Andrea.
and today we are discussing the Columbine Massacre. Okay, so before we dive into Columbine, I just wanted to say a few things about last week's episode on haunted schools.
What?
So I talked to my dad, who also worked at Emory Henry College for years.
For a very long time.
He was there almost 30 years he worked there. Yeah, he was the executive chef there, and he told me that the dorm where I felt those creepy vibes was called the Hillman dorm. So there you go, because I couldn't think of the name last week to save my life.
We know.
So it's Hillman. If you're ever on Emory and Henry College's campus, that dorm is creepy, at least downstairs.
Too spooky.
Also, my dad told me that the cemetery isn't actually on the main campus. It's more like across the street, because I said it was on the Emory's campus, but he said it's across the street on land owned by the college.
So pretty much same thing.
Pretty much, but I just wanted to clarify.
It's just not directly on campus, just across the street.
Yeah, so correction there, kind of.
Edit.
Also, I asked him, I was like, so have you ever, because I still couldn't find anything on if that girl who supposedly hung herself in the shower closet of one of the dorms actually happened. And I asked him if he had ever heard about it, and he said, yeah, it supposedly happened in the Mawa dorm, and that's a women's dorm on campus. And he said it was supposed to have been in the shower, not the closet, and that is why supposedly the water doesn't ever work right in the building. And he said he's not sure if it happened or not, but he said if it happened, it didn't happen the 30 years that he worked there, so it had to been before his time.
So pretty early.
Yeah. But he did know a maintenance guy that worked on campus, and he knew him really well because he would come into the dining hall and eat all the time, and they would talk. And he said that guy was always getting calls to the Mawa dorm to go to fix the water because the water was always messing up.
That's so weird. That's strange.
He said he would get calls, that guy would get called in on his days off to fix the water because it was like a constant thing over there and never worked right.
I would just move
so
in
Dad
eventually.
said he could say that.
I'd be like,
yeah, just move in there, just be there.
24/7.
Anytime it breaks, you can just...
You're there.
Yeah. But I thought that was pretty cool that he knew a guy that was constantly getting calls over there about the water.
So that's true.
Yeah, but it also is a really old building. So it could be just that it's old, or it could be the spirit of some girl. Who knows? And my dad, when I was talking to him, he also mentioned that there's a cabin on campus, which I know about the cabin. I've just never actually been in the cabin, but we did a lot of catering over there. But I never had to go over there for anything. And my dad said that he didn't like being in there, that it gave him bad vibes, and he's a skeptic.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and he said that one night there was a girl that was over there, and I guess she was cleaning up. It was like a small little catering event, so she was over there by herself cleaning up, and she called to down to the main dining area where everybody else was and was like, hey, can you send somebody over here? Because, I'm creeped the fuck out. I don't want to be over here by myself.
I don't blame her.
And so they had to send somebody over there. And like I said, my dad's a skeptic, but he said he had an experience in the Van Dyke, the dining, where the main dining hall is on campus. He had an experience in there, and he said that him and one of his friends was there really early in the morning opening. He said it was before I ever started working there. And he said that nobody was supposed to be in the building. It was locked down and everything, and they went in to open. And he said that there was a distinctive swinging door or whatever, and he said that it made a specific noise, you knew
that
the
was
sound
that
of
door.
that door. Yeah, and they were, like, nowhere near the door, and they heard that door open and close, like, really loud, and that guy was like, "Please tell me you heard that." And my dad was like, "Yeah, but I'm not going and checking it out unless you come with me." And so so they went and checked it out and like looked through the whole building and no one was there. And he was like, "I can't explain it." He said maybe somebody was in there and they got out before we found them, but he was like, "I don't know how they would have been." And he was like, "So it's just," he said that was a little like hard to explain. So I thought I would share that
That's
since that's what we were
cool
talking about last
that he
week.
had some experiences and knew some people and had some more info.
Yeah, I love hearing stories, and I had never heard him tell me that one. So I was like, heck yeah.
Yeah, that's always cool.
Well, obviously, last week was so much fun talking about the haunted
Oh, I
schools,
loved
but
it.
today's episode has a very different vibe.
Unfortunately, because we're discussing the tragedy that occurred at Columbine High School in Littleton, Colorado on April 20th, 1999, when students Dylan Klebold, age 17, and Eric Harris, age 18, walked into the school dressed in black trench coats, and they opened fire on their innocent, unexpected classmates and staff, killing 12 students, one teacher, before turning the guns on themselves.
Yeah, it was horrible. And we were really little when this happened, but I still remember like hearing about it.
Yeah, I
Like,
do
how old
too.
were we? I was like 8.
Yeah, I was 7.
It is important to note that while the Columbine Massacre was one of the deadliest school shootings at the time, there had been other school shootings. For example, the 1966 University of Texas Tower shooting, which resulted in 16 deaths, including an unborn child,
That's sad.
numerous injuries, and was one of the earliest high-profile school shooting incidents in the United States, which we're not going to get into right now because we may do a future episode on this later because it's an interesting story and I'd like to cover it. And I feel like a lot of people, yeah, myself included, thought Columbine was the first one because that's the first one I ever remember hearing about, but it
In
was
our
not.
lifetime.
It was
We
definitely
weren't
not.
born in 1966, so we would have no idea, you know? Yeah, we should definitely do an episode on that. That'd be fun. I mean, not
Oh,
fun,
yeah.
but interesting.
Like we said, Columbine was not the first school shooting in America, and as we all know, it unfortunately was not the last.
Yeah, unfortunately, in all caps.
Yeah.
But at the time in 1999, school shootings weren't a regular occurrence like they are now. School shootings and mass shootings in public places have just become all too familiar in the present day. I mean, honestly, you turn on the news and it's like, oh, there's another one. Or you talk to someone and they tell you about
Yeah.
another one. Like, honestly, my coworker was saying there was one in Tennessee, like, over the weekend or something, where it was like a
Seriously.
drive-by at like a show or I don't know. They shot like there was 100 people outside in line, and they like shot. I didn't look into it because they make me sad, but
Yeah. And I mean, that's unfortunately like the world we live in right now. And that's
yeah,
the fact that we can just sit here and have a casual conversation about it is
it
sad.
really is.
But who were these guys? And why did they do what they did?
Well, Dylan Klebold was born on September 11th in 1981, and he grew up in an upper middle class family, had a pretty seemingly normal family environment. Dylan was known to be intelligent and also creative. He was interested in computers, video games, especially the violent first person shooter games.
I like those too, I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not too good at them. Like having to like move and like shoot and like aim, and I like end up going in circles and just firing.
You can't multitask.
It's hard for me to get that down. I've
Oh, I
tried.
love it. I play Call of Duty. Me and Drew used to stay up till like 5 in the morning playing Call of Duty and just like shooting people online, like
That's so funny.
playing with random people. Oh gosh, it was so much fun.
Well, you and Dylan would have had that in common, liking first
Yeah.
person shooter games. Um, but he also
I'm
had.
glad I share that in common with someone.
You're not the only one. My brother, he plays all of those.
Yeah.
But Dylan also had an interest in writing, and he kept journals, of course. He was described as quiet and introverted. He struggled with depression, and overall, from what we could find, most people described Dylan as a pretty good kid.
But then Dylan met Eric.
Dun dun dun.
Eric Harris was born April 9th, 1981 in Wichita, Kansas. His dad was an Air Force pilot,
First
so he
red
moved
flag.
around a lot when he was younger. Why? Why is that a
I
red
don't
flag?
know.
Because he had to move around a lot?
Kind of. It kind of messes, I feel like, with your mind if you're a child and you're constantly moving. But I also
Yeah.
feel like it doesn't, because I have a lot of friends who lived that life and they didn't turn out like Eric.
Yeah. Well, Eric did say stuff like he was always having to be the new kid and he always had to start out at the bottom of the food chain and like he was
Yeah.
never able to like make friends.
That's
And
kind of
like
what I meant by what I said. Like,
yeah, like red flag.
mhm.
Well, his family eventually settled in Colorado in around 1993. That's when his dad retired from the Air Force. And Eric was also described as very bright and even being in advanced classes. And he seemed like a pretty normal kid until he got into his teen years. And he kind of had a serious hatred for the entire world. Not sure why, because I mean, he was full of hate, which we'll get into some of his journal entries in a minute and you can see. But a lot of people described Eric as he got older as having like extremely volatile behavior and
Ooh.
kind of being a bit psychopathic, manipulative. Yeah.
I wonder if he might have had some mental health issues. Probably.
Dylan and Eric bonded over their love for computers and video games. They really liked the video game Doom. I think that was like their favorite.
You played that
And they
before?
considered themselves. I haven't, but Drew has. And I think he liked it, but I remember it.
I feel like I've heard of it, but I've never played it.
And they considered themselves social outcasts and they just had a lot in common and they just really clicked. And I feel like things between them were really good at first and probably pretty innocent, you know, just good friends.
Yeah, bonding, playing video games, goth stuff.
And then shit got dark. According to biography, Dylan and Eric became interested in all things German, wore swastikas, and even gave the Heil Hitler salute while bowling or playing card games. They listened to German bands like Rammstein, which when I was in high school, I actually liked Rammstein a lot
yeah, I
too.
was like, I feel like I've listened to them before.
Yeah.
But all that other stuff, no.
I'm not gonna do the Heil Hitler
No, never.
thing. That's super fucked up, but
Very disrespectful.
Like I said, shit got dark. I don't know what, like a switch just flipped.
According to CNN, in January of 1998, Dylan and Eric were arrested after stealing some items from a van. After pleading guilty, they were sent to juvenile diversion program, which was supposed to help them stay out of trouble.
Yeah, it was supposed to help them stay out of trouble. And I read somewhere, I did so much research, it's just all running together. But I remember reading somewhere that like Eric, he was such a manipulator and like he knew the right things to say to the right people, you know,
Yeah,
that
he
kind
knew
of
how to
stuff.
talk.
But then really, yeah, but then like behind closed doors, that's not really how he felt. But when they went to this like diversion program or whatever, he wrote like an essay or something basically saying like he was sorry for what he did and he was remorseful about it and that he would never want to do anything like that again and all this stuff. Yeah, but then meanwhile in his journal, he was like saying, well, if people are stupid enough to like leave stuff in their van for me to steal, then I should be able to steal it.
Wow. His true self.
Dylan and Eric also had another really good friend named Brooks Brown.
BB.
And I watched a documentary on YouTube while I was prepping for this, and I'll link the documentary in the show notes. But in this documentary, Brooks Brown's parents were talking, and they said that Dylan and Brooks were friends first, and then when Eric moved to Colorado, Dylan, Eric, and Brooks just all started hanging out together. And that at first they liked Eric, and they really liked Dylan. Like they had no problem with Dylan. But Eric's behavior started to take a turn, and at one point, like, Eric did something to, like, Brooks's car, and then, like, I guess tried to deny it or whatever, and they just were like, "Stay away from Brooks, stay away from our house, stay away from us." They didn't want anything to
Dang.
do with Eric. This pissed Eric off. Like, he kind of had it out for Brooks for a minute, and you know how Eric had we said he had, like, an interest in computers and everything.
Yeah.
Well, Eric had a website, and on this website, Eric threatened Brooks.
Uh-uh.
So, yeah, so Brooks's parents, Randy and Judy Brown, they filed a report with the sheriff's office stating that Harris had threatened to kill Brooks and had written on the internet that he would like to kill other people.
What?
Yeah.
That's
So,
insane.
hello, red flags.
Everywhere.
Yeah,
Popping
everywhere,
up.
all over the internet.
And as reported by CNN, Brown's mother gave the police 12 pages of profanity-laced messages posted by Harris on his so-called website. One passage stated, "All I want to do is kill and injure as many of you as I can, especially a few people like Brooks Brown."
Harris also wrote of planting explosives around the town and detonating them.
Fucking crazy.
He had some issues, man. There's an affidavit that describes a pipe bomb found in a field in Jefferson County in February of 1998, and it was made up of materials that were consistent with what Harris described as components of his explosive devices.
And so the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department, which is who the report was filed with, didn't do anything. According to CNN, police later released the contents of an affidavit asking for a search of the home of Eric Harris a year before the shooting.
The father of one of the students killed in the shooting told CNN after the affidavit was released that he was happy to learn more of the truth. He said that they, referring to the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department, had denied this application even existed.
How is it that, like, in at least 50% or more of situations that go down, the cops are, like, notified and they do nothing? Like, we just talked about this in the Ken and Barbie
Yeah.
killers.
I was watching something, and, like, Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
How many times did Jeffrey Dahmer get away with
And
stuff?
John Wayne Gacy.
There was so many times. Yeah, there's so many times that the police could have and should have intervened and did nothing. And I'm not saying, like, all police are bad, but it's just, like, follow up on shit.
It's a common thing.
Yeah.
And then bigger shit happens and it's worse because y'all did nothing.
If you don't want a lawsuit, follow up on the little things. The things that you think are minuscule and don't matter.
The little things matter.
But I mean, honestly, nobody could have imagined what was about to unfold at Columbine, but still, like, the proper steps should have been taken for sure.
Yeah.
But anyways, Brooks and Eric eventually worked through their rough patch and actually resumed their friendship.
Wow.
And on the day of the shooting, Eric actually saw Brooks, who had walked outside to smoke a cigarette, and he told Brooks, "Brooks, I like you. Now, get out of here. Go home."
Damn.
It's like he could have shot Brooks. Like, he wanted to shoot him, like,
he made a website
months
to kill
before
him.
that.
Like,
so it's a good thing for Brooks that they just happened to rekindle their friendship, because if not, he had the perfect opportunity to shoot Brooks in the face and probably would have.
Yeah.
But instead, he told him to go home. And Brooks was like, okay, and didn't think anything of it. But, like, a few minutes later, he heard gunshots, and he, like, took off running from the school to call the police. And he was, like, telling the police, like, it had to be Eric, like, because he just told me to go home. It had to be him. He has to be involved. But yeah, personally, I believe that Eric was the mastermind behind the shooting. Like, I feel like Dylan, although he was a willing accomplice in the shooting, I don't think he would have done what they did without Eric pulling the strings.
Yeah.
Because, like, which we'll see here in a minute when we read their journal entries, Dylan was in, like, a frail emotional state. He had low self-esteem and a negative perception of himself, and he even journaled about killing himself. So I think he might have killed himself, but I don't think he would have killed anyone else without Eric putting the idea into his head. And Eric he was just so full of so much anger. And I just feel like it was a matter of time before that shit manifested.
Yeah, and he like exploded.
And he just kind of pulled Dylan, who was in this like frail emotional state, he pulled him into his orbit and just kind of took Dylan with him.
And Dylan was so fragile, he absorbed that.
So now on to the journals that we were discussing that investigators found after the shooting, when they searched the homes and lockers of Eric and Dylan. And while we were doing research, we came across a really well put together website called a ColumbineSite.com, and it has really well compiled documentation of reports and things that followed the Columbine shooting, including some of the journal entries from Dylan and Eric. So if you're interested in reading more of their journal entries and things to see their mindset leading up to the shooting, I highly suggest you check out this site because it's very detailed. We're gonna read you some of the things from their journal entries, but obviously there's like not enough time to read
all of it
in an episode of this podcast. Yeah, because it is a lot. But we'll put that in our show notes, the link to that website. It's really well detailed. Anything you want to know about the Columbine shooting. But here are some things that Eric had written to get an idea. These are from different journal entries, okay. So it's not like all one entry. So one said, it would be great if God removed all vaccines and warning labels from everything in the world and let natural selection take its course.
What?
Another entry was very interesting to me. It's a little long, but I'm going to read the whole thing. So, World War II, Vietnam, Duke, and Doom all mixed together. Maybe we will even start a little rebellion or revolution to fuck things up as much as we can. I want to leave a lasting impression on the world. And GD, do not blame anyone else besides me and V for this. V is referring to Dylan. His nickname apparently was like vodka or something like that. So V is Dylan. Don't blame my family. They had no clue, and there is nothing they could have done. They brought me up just fucking fine. Don't blame toy stores or any other stores for selling us ammo, bomb materials, or anything like that, because it's not their fault. I don't want no fucking laws on buying fucking PVC pipes. We are kind of a select case here, so don't think that this will happen again. Little did he know.
Mm-hmm.
Don't blame the school. Don't fucking put cops all over the place just because we went on a killing spree. Doesn't mean everyone else will. And hardly ever do people bring bombs or guns to school anyway. The admin is doing a fine job as it is. I don't know who will be left after we kill, but damn it, don't change any policies just because of us. It would be stupid. And if there is any way in this fucked up universe we could come back as ghosts or what the fuck ever, we will haunt the life out of anyone who blames anyone besides me and V. If by some weird ass shit luck me and V survive and escape, we will move to some island somewhere, or maybe Mexico, New Zealand, or some exotic place where Americans can't get us. If there isn't such a place, then we will hijack a hell of a lot of bombs and crash a plane into New York City with us inside, airing away as we go down. Just something to cause more devastation. Yeah. And it's crazy. So in several journal entries and several things, they mention, like, don't blame their family, don't blame
anyone but me
their
and
friends. Yeah, don't blame video games, don't blame toy stores, or it's just like all kinds of stuff. But I thought this was so interesting because he was like, we're a select case here, so don't think this will happen again. People rarely bring guns to school anyway,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, if only he knew what 2023 would be like.
You have no
living
idea,
in 2023.
bro. You have no idea.
Yeah, at the time maybe you were a select case, but now it's like it's not such a unique thing anymore.
Well, I thought it was weird he talks about like the whole airplane thing and crashing into a building.
That was another thing, because this, I don't know exactly when he journaled this, but it was obviously before 2001, when September 11th happened. But it was eerie because that's what happened just a couple years later.
Yeah, that's so weird.
And in New York. And Dylan's birthday is September
I
11th.
almost said something about that when I was reading that. I was like,
yeah.
That's weird. Weird birthday.
Yeah, just eerie connections there. Also, according to a Columbine site, in Dylan's 1998 yearbook, Eric wrote, God, I can't wait till they die. I can taste the blood now. And then he signed like NBK.
Mm-hmm. What's
And
that mean?
it's believed it's a reference to Natural Born Killers, the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like they think it's a reference to that because they use that several times in BK.
Makes sense.
He also drew a gunman standing amongst a sea of dead bodies with a caption quoted from I think it's a German band. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's like KMFDM's Dogma song.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, the only reason you're still alive is because someone has decided to let you live.
What the fuck? That's dark.
Yeah, it's really dark, and it reminds me of the whole Brooks situation. Like when he let Brooks live.
Yeah.
He you're only alive. I think he wanted to just
let someone live.
To know that he had the power.
Yeah.
Like, I could kill you right now, but I like you, so I'm gonna let you go home. And he wrote in his own 98 yearbook as well. He wrote on the photographs of almost every student things like worthless, die, stuff like that. He even put X's over most of the students that he didn't like, and most of the photos were marked. So he really didn't like anybody.
Damn.
Yeah.
New kid coming in and being like, I hate all y'all.
And so now on to some of Dylan's journal entries.
Well, back at it. Yes, you say, whoever the fuck you is. But yeah, my life is still fucked, in case you care. Maybe not. I have just lost fucking $45, and before that I lost my Zippo and knife. I did get those back. Why the fuck is he being such an asshole? God, I guess whoever is the being which controls shit. He's fucking me over big time. Pisses me off. Oh God, I hate my life. I want to die really bad right now. Let's see what I have that's good. A nice family, a good house, food, a couple good friends and possessions. What's bad? No girls, friends or girlfriends. No other friends except a few. Nobody accepting me even though I want to be accepted. Me doing badly and being intimidated in any and all sports. Me looking weird and acting shy. Big problem. Me getting bad grades. Having no ambition of life. That's the big shit. Anyway, I was Mr. Cutter tonight. I have 11 depressioners on my right hand now. And my fave contrasting symbol because it's so true and means so much. The battle between good and bad never ends. Okay, enough bitchin'. Well, I'm not done yet. Okay, so I don't know what I do wrong with people, mainly women. It's like they all set out to hate me and ignore me. I never know what to say or do. That's
He's
all over the place, bro.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
He's sad, and then he's pros and cons list. So he's trying to be level-headed, mm-hmm. But then he's I feel like he really just wants a girl because he keeps bringing that up.
I feel like if he had a girlfriend or some girl that paid attention to him, he would not have been interested in killing people.
No,
because he talks about love and girls a lot.
Yeah, because another entry from his journal reads, "Love is more valuable than anything I know. To love is to enter a completion of oneself. I hate those who choose to destroy a love, who take it for granted. Love is greater than life even. As I look for love, I feel I can't find it, ever. But something tells me I will. Someday, somewhere. As my love will find me. She feels as I do right now. I can feel it. We will be inseparable, her and I." That's kind of sweet.
Oh, that's so... It's so sweet, but it's so sad because
he never found her.
Yeah, his entries seemed sweet at first, but some of them get a little darker. And I'm not sure when this particular entry was written. Some of them had dates, but some of them didn't. But this one sounded like it was close to when the shooting happened. And you'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So it starts out, one day, one is the beginning, the end. Ha ha ha. Reversed, yet true. About 26 and a half hours from now, the judgment will begin. Difficult, but not impossible. Necessary, nerve-wracking, and fun. What fun is life without a little death? It is interesting when I'm in my human form, knowing I'm going to die. Everything has a touch of triviality to it. I know how to say that, but it did not come out right. Triviality to it.
Triviality.
Like how none of this calculus shit matters the way it shouldn't. The truth, in 26.4 hours, I'll be dead and in happiness. The little zombie human fags will know their errors and be forever suffering and mournful. Ha 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 ha. Of course, I will miss things. Not really.
Okay.
Yeah, like he's all over the
Back
place.
and forth, back and forth.
It's sad because like you can see the struggle. Like you can see what he's going through.
You can see the
And
good and the evil. You can see the light and the dark.
so in Dylan's journal, he also had a lot of poems that he had written, and honestly, he was quite talented. There were also like several drawings in his journal, and some of them were of him, like he had sketched out like himself and what he was like gonna wear on the day of the shooting. Like he had a belt with like all their ammo and guns and stuff in the sketch.
Weird.
Yeah, and there were a lot of lists, like to-do list for what they were planning. And I'm going to read one right now. And the entry says, do shit for MBK.
Natural born killers.
And the entry reads, file off clip, buy suspenders, buy cargo pants, work out carrying gear plan, find out how to carry Tech 9, get pouches, geologists in your old closet, get napalm containers, buy straps, figure out how to carry knife, practice in car gear ups, get bullets, get shells, give Reb powder, buy Adidas soccer bags, give Reb glass containers, fill up gas cans, find volatile combo of gas and oil, look for voltage, amplifier, internet, or Radio Shack, buy Wrath t-shirt, buy punk gloves.
What the hell? Quite a
Yeah,
list.
and then there's like another sketch with him with all of his gear on for the day of the shooting. So yeah, it's again the mindset that they were in leading up to the shooting.
Pretty dark.
And I feel like through their journal entries, you can see the major differences between Dylan and Eric.
Totally.
Yeah.
You can see that Eric's complete 100% evil, and Dylan
Yeah.
Dylan kind of gives you this like 80-20.
Dylan and Eric also recorded videotapes of themselves, and a couple of the tapes have been released to the public, but the others, the so-called basement tapes, were not publicly released by law enforcement due to concerns that they could potentially inspire copycat incidents or glorify the killers. And as a result, detailed information about the contents of the tapes is limited, and only a few quotes and descriptions have been provided by those who viewed them during the investigation and all of that.
Another weird
and
similarity.
The tapes that were not. It is another weird similarity to the Ken and Barbie killers, because there's tapes and they recorded them in a basement.
Yeah, I know. That's weird.
It's very weird. I feel like every episode we do has some connection to like the last one.
They're like linking together, and we didn't do it on purpose.
It really isn't. We're just picking them at total random.
Yeah.
So the basement tapes that were not released were eventually destroyed in 2011.
Just like the Ken and Barbie tapes. Destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah. Similarities.
In the basement tapes, from what we were able to gather, Dylan and Eric are hanging out in the basement. Similar to their journal entries, they're just expressing what they plan to do at Columbine. They express their hopes for notoriety and fame in the aftermath. They believe that one day their recordings will be played all over the world. They express, like in their journal, not to blame their family, friends, or the video games.
Yeah, and it's pretty obvious in the tapes and their journal entries that they knew they were gonna die. Like, they weren't coming out.
Yeah, they knew. We're going in blazing, we're coming out dead.
So the fame and notoriety, like they hoped that they would be famous in death, which they are. They're very famous, but the tapes that they were hoping would be shown all over the world were destroyed. So the tapes that were released, however, were that of a short film project that Dylan and Eric did for school called The Hitman for Hire.
God.
Yeah, well, in this, Dylan and Eric play hitman hired to protect the outcasts of the school from the bullies harassing them, which almost seems like, oh, they're coming in, they're slipping in, they're like a superhero, but they're like killing the bullies.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not really good.
You can't just kill people.
Yeah, well, I mean, apparently you can. I mean,
according to Eric.
You shouldn't. And the other tape that was released, Dylan and Eric are joined with a couple of friends, and they're at a place called Rampart Range, and they're firing their recently acquired weapons. They can be seen in the film firing at bowling pins and trees, joking around. They're wearing their signature trench coats and their hats backwards, just like they did the day of the shooting. And this was all filmed in early March of 99, about 6 weeks or so before the shooting at Columbine.
That's so eerie, and I don't like it. Like,
I don't like it.
They're practicing.
Yeah, they were. They were joined with some friends in this particular video, and one of the guys that was with them at the range, his name was Mark Maines. And according to the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department, Mark Maines sold his Tech 9 pistol to Dylan for like $500. And he also purchased 2 boxes, 100 rounds each, of 9mm ammunition for Eric Harris the night of April 19th, which was the day before the shooting.
200 rounds.
Maines was charged with 1 count of unlawfully providing or permitting a juvenile to possess a handgun. Maines was also charged with 1 count of possession of a dangerous or illegal weapon because he had gone shooting with Klebold and Harris in March of 99 and had shot one of their sawed-off shotguns. Because they also had sawed-off shotguns.
Hella illegal.
Yeah, so Mark was, he didn't know that when he was in the video,
that's what was happening,
shooting with them at the range. Yeah, that they were actually doing target practice for what they were preparing to do. He thought they were just out there having fun shooting guns because he liked guns. So
I wonder if he thought that too when he bought the ammo. If he was like, oh, they probably just need it to practice. They just got guns. They're trying to get better.
I read somewhere that he asked Dylan, he was like, are you going shooting tonight? And Dylan was like, no, I'm going tomorrow.
No.
Which is like, in hindsight, that guy's probably like, damn.
Maines entered a plea of guilty to the charges, and on November 12th, 1999, he was sent to the Colorado Department of Corrections for 6 years on the first charge and 3 years on the second charge.
Yeah, and another one of their friends, whose name was Philip Duran, he worked with Dylan and Eric at a pizza place called Blackjack Pizza, and he was allegedly involved in helping set up the sale between Maines. He, I guess, introduced Dylan and Eric to Maines, and because of this, Duran ended up getting charged with unlawfully providing, or permitting a juvenile to possess a handgun, as well as a charge of possession of a dangerous or illegal weapon. He was also charged with contributing to the delinquency of a minor and ended up getting 4.5-year prison sentence.
Damn, bro. They getting everybody.
Just for setting them up.
just
Yeah.
for knowing somebody in Lincoln. Oh my gosh.
Mhm. I mean, like, I get it, but at the same time, like, he didn't think like these guys were gonna go shoot up a school. I mean, in 2023 you would think that, but in 1999 you wouldn't think that.
Yeah. Jeez. There's also a super eerie yearbook photo of the Columbine High School class of 99. You know how they get everyone together to take a huge class photo? Like they usually make you take
Yeah.
one, like a normal one, and then they make you do something funny, like funny
Yeah, I
faces,
hated
bunny
it.
ears, all that shit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Dylan and Eric can be seen in the photo in the left corner making gun gestures toward the camera. Bang, bang. That's fucking scary.
It is. Like, looking back on that shit, and they were planning it for like a year, so it's like they knew what they were gonna do.
That's
And for them to be,
sketch.
it's like,
They premeditated
it's
all of this.
super.
They planned it all out.
They did, and if you look at the photo where they're just like up in the corner, they're at the very top. So it's like they're overlooking like the entire class of 99, and it's just like it's really fucking eerie when you think about it.
Yeah, because we know what happened after.
Another interesting fact that some people might not know is that the Columbine shooting was actually meant to be a bombing. So on the morning of April 20th, Dylan and Eric arrived at the Columbine High School just after 11 a.m. Eric arrived alone in his 1986 gray Honda Civic. Shout out, because I have a Honda Civic.
Yeah, shout out Hondas.
Yeah. And Dylan, he arrived alone in his black 1982 BMW.
Fancy pants.
The pair, yeah, he had a BMW, not a Honda.
Now I know why Eric's so mad.
I drive a fucking Honda Civic.
My friend's fucking driving around a BMW. The fuck is life?
That's what did it. Yeah. That had to be.
Yeah, that's what snapped.
That's where his anger came from. Mm-hmm.
The car, man.
Fucking cars.
Fucking cars, man.
So Dylan and Eric ended up, they parked in like different spots than they normally do, because I guess they had like assigned parking or something, and they parked in like other people's spots for some reason that morning. And
they didn't give a fuck that morning. That's why.
They didn't give a fuck. They also got to school late.
They didn't care.
Get there to like.
They're like, we're about to die.
11, so
we're gonna do whatever we want.
We're about to die, so we're sleeping in this morning. Like, I don't know. I don't know if they were sleeping, but Dylan and Eric walked into the school's cafeteria, and they placed 2 large duffel bags in the cafeteria, and the duffel bags contained 20-pound propane bombs that were timed to go off at approximately 11:17 a.m. And that's the time that Eric had determined that the most students would be in the cafeteria, therefore the most casualties.
That's sad.
Oh, yeah. And if their plan had succeeded, it would have been like an estimated 450 people in the cafeteria at that time that probably would have all died. Yeah. So they went back outside to their cars, and they were going to just kick back and watch the fireworks. But the bombs failed to detonate, so they improvised.
So the bombs fucked up, so they were like, all right.
Yeah, and the thing was, like, they were going to let the bombs kind of take care of most of the people, and then they were going to sit outside where their cars were, and they were going to shoot people who were fleeing from the school. So the shooting was always meant to be secondary to the bombing. They
always planned to shoot, but bomb first. Well, the two also set up a diversion for police. And at 11:19 a.m., the Jefferson County Dispatch Center received a 911 call from a local that was reporting an explosion in a field about 3 miles from the school. It ended up being 2 backpacks with pipe bombs, arsenal canisters, and small propane tanks that Dylan and Eric had set up to divert the police away from the school building.
And then, meanwhile, back at the school, the first gunshots that were fired from Dylan and Eric were fired toward 17-year-old Rachel Scott and her friend Richard Castellio, who were outside the school eating their lunch on the lawn. Rachel was killed and Richard was badly injured as Dylan and Eric made their way into the high school. More injuries and fatalities follow.
So sad. They were just eating their lunch.
Yeah, just a normal day, and these two fucked it up.
For a lot of people.
And so next week, we are going to continue to discuss the Columbine Massacre, and we actually have a special guest joining us.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Our friend and actor, Corey Chapman.
Yeah.
And he actually played Dylan Klebold in a film titled I'm Not Ashamed. The film centers around the life and death of Rachel Scott, Dylan and Eric's first victim.
Yeah, we actually got to talk to Corey about what it was like playing such a dark role and what it was like to meet Rachel's mom. So, stay tuned because we're still doing the damn thing next week.
We're doing the damn thing.
We always are, man. We love y'all.
Stay spooky, friends.